Hey guys, welcome back to High Octane Power Sports Tip Series. This time around we're going to be covering how to properly adjust the free play in your throttle. Now it doesn't seem like a major maintenance item, it's certainly an often overlooked one, but it's one that will actually pay pretty big dividends for you, and there's two really simple reasons as to why. First, if you're in the middle of a corner and you're trying to either crack the throttle open to settle the chassis, or just maintain neutral throttle through the corner, or if you're just beginning your acceleration process out of the corner, it just becomes far more difficult to do that precisely when you have any extra slack or free play or excessive movement in the throttle. And that's true whether you're on a racetrack, your favorite canyon road somewhere, you're racing a motocross track, or you're just trying to negotiate a technical section of trail somewhere. So it really applies across the board. Second reason is that any relative throttle position is going to be moved further backwards in the rotation by that same free player movement. So if you're on a highway cruising along, or you're trying to maintain full throttle, it's going to put a bigger crease in your wrist and put your wrist at a steeper angle than without that same free play, and that's going to be detrimental from an ergonomic standpoint. So two pretty simple reasons to stay on top of this easy adjustment. And here's how it works. All the throttle adjustments on pretty much all the motorcycles out there work basically the same. You have a lock nut and an adjuster nut. In general, the lock nut is going to be bigger than the adjuster nut. Some of them will have it on both the pull and push aspects of the throttle. Now in the case of the Suzuki, you have a lock thumb wheel and an adjuster thumb wheel. And the Suzuki actually has an adjustment on both the pull throttle cable and the push throttle cable. On the Honda, you have it just here on the pull throttle cable, and in general you can get the adjustment done on just the one on the pull cable. On some bikes, you'll notice that the adjuster will be located further down the throttle cable, sometimes covered by a plastic or rubber shroud, but they're pretty much all the same. And here's how to do it. We have our adjuster nut, which is an 8mm. We have our lock nut, which is a 10. We're going to spin them opposite directions from each other. Once we've spun the lock nut away, the adjuster is free to turn. And in general, if you spin the adjuster towards the lock nut, it creates more free play. When you spin it away from it, it takes that free play out. What you want to do is you want to find that spot where as soon as you put pressure on the throttle, you can feel it pulling on the cable and turning it immediately, and there's no extra movement in the throttle to get to that point. Once you've found that, the other side of things is to turn the throttle all the way open and let it snap shut. Make sure it snaps shut freely. Rotate the steering completely in one direction, turn the throttle, make sure it snaps shut, rotate it in the opposite direction, make sure it snaps shut. Same thing in the center. The reason why we're doing that is because it's possible to be at an adjustment point where the throttle will actually snap shut in the center, but then bind up on the side. You can see here it's not snapping shut freely. And the reason why that's important is because if we take it, way too far, you can see an exaggerated example, you can get to a point where the throttle won't close on its own at all. And that's a potentially dangerous situation, because you can go to your brakes, be braking hard into a corner, release the brake thinking have the throttle closed, and it's still open. Bike will take off on you, creates a very bad situation. So that's why not only do you not want to go too far, but you want to check it in all three directions. So let's find that spot where we've gotten rid of the free play, right there. Check it over in that direction, check it in this direction, close it smoothly in all three directions. At that point, you're going to spin your lock nut back up against your adjuster nut, take our two wrenches, lock them back, snug them back up against each other, and you're done. Next time we're going to cover how to properly adjust the free play in your clutch.